Keanu Reeves sat in front of his camera, the soft glow of lights illuminating his face, giving the entire room a warm and inviting feeling. It was a simple setup, nothing too fancy, just a quiet space where he could connect with people around the world. Today, he had decided to go live, just to talk, to share a few thoughts and to answer questions from fans who had been eagerly waiting for this moment. There was no grand announcement, no special event, just Keanu, sitting comfortably, ready to have an honest conversation. As soon as the live session began, viewers flooded in, their messages scrolling quickly across the screen. People from different countries, speaking different languages, all came together in this small virtual room, excited to see him. Keanu smiled softly as he read some of the comments, nodding along, genuinely engaged. He thanked people for joining, and there was a calmness in the way he spoke, a feeling that made anyone watching feel like they were sitting in the same room with him. Just having a casual chat, the conversation started lightly, with questions about his latest projects and the films he loved working on. He spoke about his journey in Hollywood, the ups and downs, the long days on set, and the moments that made it all worthwhile. There was a gentle honesty in his voice, the kind of honesty that made people lean in closer, wanting to hear more. Fans asked about his favorite roles and the characters he connected with most, and he shared his experiences with thoughtful reflections. Then, the topic slowly shifted, moving from his own experiences to the people who inspired him. Keanu had always been known for his humility, and it showed in the way he talked about others. He spoke about actors and artists who had left a mark on him, not just for their talent but for the way they carried themselves, the respect they showed for their craft and the kindness they displayed off camera. It was in this moment, in the middle of this heartfelt conversation, that he mentioned Jonathan Roumie. The name came out naturally, almost as if it had been on his mind for a long time. He said it quietly, but with a warmth that could be felt through the screen. He talked about how Jonathan Roumie had a presence that was more than just acting. It was the kind of presence that made people pause, that made them reflect on the deeper meanings of the stories being told. Keanu spoke about how Roumie's performances weren't just about memorizing lines or hitting marks. They were about bringing truth and honesty to every scene. He described a moment when he first saw Roumie in a role that touched many hearts. It wasn't a blockbuster or a flashy production, but it was a performance that stayed with him. Keanu spoke about how Roumie's dedication and authenticity had left an impression, how it reminded him of why he himself loved acting in the first place. There was a sincerity in his words that went beyond mere admiration. It was respect, pure and simple. Fans watching the live session were quick to notice. Comments began to flood the screen, expressing surprise, excitement, and curiosity. Many were thrilled to hear Keanu speak about someone else with such genuine appreciation. Some wrote that they had never seen this side of him, this openness to acknowledge and celebrate the work of others. There was a sense of community forming in the chat, as viewers shared their own thoughts about Roumie, about the power of honest and heartfelt performances. Keanu continued, explaining why this mention mattered to him. He talked about the importance of integrity in the craft, about how an actor's role is not just to entertain but to convey something meaningful. Roumie, he said, was someone who embodied that principle. There was a quiet reverence in Keanu's tone, a respect that was both personal and professional. He spoke about the kind of performances that stay with you long after the film ends, the kind that change the way you see the world, and Roumie's work was exactly that. The live session wasn't just about praise, though. Keanu also shared a little about how he connected with Roumie's work on a human level. He talked about moments of doubt, moments when he questioned his own choices, and how watching someone like Roumie navigate his craft with honesty offered a subtle kind of inspiration. It was not just admiration for skill. It was admiration for character, for authenticity, for the courage to be oneself in an industry that often demanded masks and facades. As he spoke, there was a quiet energy in the room, a mix of awe and warmth. People felt they were witnessing something rare, an actor they admired sharing something deeply personal about another performer. The mention of Jonathan Roumie became more than just a name. It became a story of respect, of inspiration, and of the simple, profound power of acknowledging someone else's impact. Keanu didn't dwell on it for long, but the way he spoke made it clear that this was not casual praise. It was a heartfelt recognition that resonated with anyone watching. He paused for a moment, looking directly into the camera, and smiled gently. There was a softness in his expression, a sincerity that made viewers feel connected to the moment. The chat continued to fill with messages, people expressing how touched they were by his words. Some shared that they had been struggling in their own lives and that hearing someone they admired speak so openly about another person's positive influence was unexpectedly comforting. Keanu took a breath and continued the conversation, guiding it naturally back to broader topics. But the mention of Jonathan Roumie lingered. It was not an announcement or a promotional moment. It was simply a shared recognition of human talent and character, and in that simplicity lay its power. People watching were reminded that admiration, respect, and acknowledgement could be expressed without grand gestures, and that sometimes just speaking honestly from the heart was enough to create a meaningful connection. Throughout the session, Keanu remained approachable and grounded. There was no sense of performance beyond the genuine sharing of thoughts. Fans felt seen as though he was talking directly to them, acknowledging their presence and their curiosity. And in mentioning Jonathan Roumie, he offered a glimpse into his personal values, into the qualities he admired and cherished. It was a moment that combined humility, insight, and humanity, leaving viewers with a sense of warmth and reflection. As the live session drew on, the initial surprise of the mention evolved into appreciation. Viewers began discussing it more thoughtfully, sharing what Roumie's work had meant to them, and connecting it to the idea that small gestures of respect and acknowledgement could have a large impact. It became a topic of conversation beyond the live chat, spreading across social media as people replayed clips and shared screenshots. What started as a quiet moment in a live session had grown into a story of inspiration, touching lives far beyond the immediate audience. Keanu closed the session with his usual calm and kind words, thanking everyone for joining and for sharing the moment. Even as he said goodbye, the effect of mentioning Jonathan Roumie remained. It was not flashy, it was not loud, but it was genuine and meaningful. For those watching, it was a reminder that the influence of one person on another could be quietly profound, and that taking a moment to speak honestly about it could resonate in ways that were both unexpected and deeply affecting. In the end, the live session became more than just an opportunity to connect with fans. It became a testament to the human side of fame, to the power of acknowledging excellence, and to the simple yet profound impact of admiration expressed sincerely. Keanu Reeves, in his gentle and thoughtful way, had not only shared his own reflections but had also honored another artist in a manner that felt natural, heartfelt, and completely real. And for everyone watching, that moment would be remembered, not because it was sensational, but because it was genuine, human, and truly affecting. After the live session, Keanu Reeves could not stop thinking about the conversation he had just shared. There was something about the way he mentioned Jonathan Roumie that felt important, something that went beyond a simple acknowledgement. He remembered the first time he had truly noticed Roumie's work. It had not been a big movie or a headline-grabbing performance, but a quiet, authentic portrayal that stayed with him long after the credits had rolled. Keanu reflected on the way Roumie brought life and sincerity to every role, how he had a natural ability to make people feel the story in a deeply human way. In his quiet moments, Keanu thought about what made Roumie different from many other actors he had met or worked with over the years. It wasn't about fame or awards, it was about integrity. Roumie treated his craft with respect, not just showing up to memorize lines but taking time to understand the essence of the character, the emotions, and the message behind the story. Keanu admired this dedication because it resonated with his own philosophy of work. Both of them, in their own ways, believed in honesty and authenticity, and that shared value created an unspoken connection across distance and experience. Keanu found himself recalling specific scenes where Roumie's performance had moved him. There was a subtlety in the way he acted, small gestures and expressions that spoke volumes without needing words. Keanu thought about how difficult it must be to convey such depth, to make audiences feel so genuinely without overacting or appearing forced. Yet Roumie had a way of doing it effortlessly, and that effortlessness was part of what made him so remarkable. It was not just skill, it was heart, something Keanu could relate to on a personal and professional level. He also reflected on the messages he had received after the live session. Fans had written to express how much it meant to hear him talk about another actor with such genuine admiration. Some shared that they had been inspired to watch Roumie's work for the first time. Others said they had been reminded of the importance of acknowledging people who make a difference. Keanu was touched by this response. It was proof that honesty and heartfelt recognition could ripple out, creating moments of connection and inspiration that reached far beyond the initial conversation. Keanu remembered a particular instance when he had watched Roumie perform in a scene that required vulnerability and emotional openness. The character faced challenges that were relatable to anyone, struggles that touched on fear, hope, faith, and perseverance. Roumie's portrayal was not melodramatic or exaggerated. It was grounded and real. Keanu had felt the character's pain and joy as if it were his own, and that experience had stayed with him. He realized that performances like these reminded people of their own humanity, their own stories, and their own capacity for empathy. He began to think about how admiration between artists often goes unnoticed. People assume that actors compete, that they are only concerned with their own careers and accolades. Keanu knew this wasn't true for everyone. He understood that true respect comes from recognizing talent, effort, and heart regardless of fame or popularity. Roumie had earned Keanu's respect not because of the spotlight he had received, but because of the authenticity and dedication he brought to his work. That realization made Keanu feel grateful for the opportunity to acknowledge it publicly. In quiet moments, Keanu also considered the human side of acting. He knew that behind every role there were real people with real lives, emotions, and challenges. Roumie's performances reflected this truth. They were a mirror of life itself, full of small nuances and complexities that made them believable. Keanu admired the courage it took to put oneself out there, to be vulnerable in front of the world, and to trust that honesty would resonate. He saw this courage in Roumie, and it reminded him of why he loved his own craft. The more Keanu thought about it, the more he appreciated the subtle influence Roumie had on him personally. Watching his performances was not just entertainment. It was a lesson in patience, sincerity, and empathy. Keanu felt that these qualities were essential not only for acting, but for life itself. They allowed people to connect deeply, to understand one another, and to experience emotions in a more meaningful way. Roumie's work, Keanu realized, was a quiet reminder of the beauty of authenticity. Keanu also remembered how he had initially hesitated to mention Roumie during the live session. It wasn't that he doubted his admiration, but he was careful with his words, always considering the impact on his audience. He wanted it to be sincere, not a casual drop of a name. When he finally spoke about Roumie, he felt a sense of relief and fulfillment. It was a moment of truth, and the response from fans confirmed that honesty resonates deeply, even across screens and distances. The conversations following the live session continued to circulate in Keanu's mind. Fans shared stories of how Roumie's work had touched their own lives, how it had brought comfort, inspiration, or a new perspective. Keanu realized that acknowledging Roumie was not just about admiration. It was about celebrating the positive impact one person could have on many. The idea that art could move hearts and minds so profoundly was something Keanu held dear, and Roumie exemplified that in every performance. Keanu also reflected on the humility that Roumie displayed both on and off the screen. In an industry where ego often overshadows talent, Roumie remained grounded, approachable, and focused on what truly mattered, the story and the people it reached. Keanu admired this greatly. It reminded him that the value of a performer is not measured by fame or awards, but by the authenticity and integrity they bring to their craft and their relationships with others. In quiet reflection, Keanu found himself thinking about the human connections that underlie every artistic endeavor. The live session had been more than a conversation. It was a bridge between admiration, respect, and inspiration. Mentioning Jonathan Roumie was not a casual comment. It was an acknowledgement of a kindred spirit, someone who shared a similar vision of what it meant to touch hearts through art. Keanu appreciated that fans could witness this moment, that it could inspire them to think more deeply about respect, admiration, and the value of sincerity in their own lives. He thought about the power of role models, of people whose work silently influences and uplifts others. Roumie, in Keanu's view, was one such figure, not through spectacle or grand gestures, but through quiet, consistent dedication to honesty and empathy. Keanu considered how important it was to recognize these influences, to speak about them openly, and to show that admiration is a form of human connection. By mentioning Roumie, he had done just that, and the feedback he received reinforced that it was meaningful and impactful. Keanu reflected on the emotional weight of Roumie's performances. The way he portrayed characters with genuine emotion, respect for the story, and care for the audience left a lasting impression. Keanu thought about his own approach to acting, and how witnessing Roumie's work reminded him to stay grounded, to stay true to the craft, and to never forget the human element that makes every story worth telling. It was a reminder that talent and heart together create something that resonates beyond the screen, touching lives in unexpected ways. He also remembered the conversations he had with other colleagues and friends after mentioning Roumie. Many people expressed admiration for Keanu's humility and for the way he chose to highlight someone else's work. Keanu felt a sense of quiet satisfaction, knowing that acknowledging someone else's talent could ripple out into a wider audience, inspiring kindness, recognition, and thoughtful reflection. It wasn't about credit or attention. It was about sharing respect and shining a light on someone who deserved it. Keanu realized that this admiration went beyond professional boundaries. It was personal, deeply human. He felt a connection to Roumie's dedication, a sense of understanding about the challenges and rewards of pursuing one's passion with honesty. That connection, though unseen by most, was real to Keanu, and he knew that by speaking about it, he had invited others to glimpse that human truth as well. In the days that followed, Keanu thought often about the live session and the way fans had reacted. He saw that the genuine acknowledgement of someone's talent could create community, conversation, and reflection. He realized that moments like these, simple as they seemed, had the power to remind people of the importance of sincerity, respect, and the quiet ways we can uplift one another. It was not a grand gesture, but it was meaningful, heartfelt, and lasting. Keanu's admiration for Jonathan Roumie became a quiet but persistent thought. He considered the ripple effect that acknowledgement could have not just for Roumie, but for everyone who valued honesty and integrity. It reminded him that even small expressions of respect could have a profound impact, inspiring others to recognize and celebrate the goodness and talent around them. It was a lesson in humility, kindness, and the human power of acknowledgement. Keanu smiled softly as he reflected on all of this, understanding that admiration and respect are not fleeting. They can leave a lasting impression. By sharing his thoughts about Jonathan Roumie, he had offered more than praise. He had shared a piece of his own values and a reminder of what matters most in both art and life: authenticity, heart, and the quiet, powerful influence one person can have on another. The live session continued to make waves long after it ended. Fans could not stop talking about Keanu Reeves mentioning Jonathan Roumie, and the responses flooded social media in ways that surprised even Keanu. People shared screenshots, clips, and messages expressing their excitement and appreciation. Many viewers were genuinely moved by the sincerity in Keanu's voice. There was something about the way he spoke that made people feel the warmth and truth of his admiration. It wasn't just a casual mention. It carried weight, emotion, and respect. Fans began to reflect on the importance of genuine acknowledgement. Many wrote that it was rare to see celebrities openly appreciate the work of others without any promotion or personal gain. Keanu's words resonated because they were authentic, unpretentious, and human. The moment highlighted a simple truth. When someone we look up to expresses sincere admiration, it can inspire us to see the world differently. People started talking not only about Roumie's work, but also about the importance of gratitude, recognition, and the impact of kindness. The conversation went beyond admiration for acting. Fans discussed the qualities that make a performer truly exceptional. Keanu had mentioned Roumie's honesty, authenticity, and dedication, and these were values that resonated deeply. People shared stories about times when art had touched their hearts, when a performance had made them cry, reflect, or feel inspired. Keanu's acknowledgement served as a reminder that these moments of connection are valuable and should be recognized. Some fans began watching Roumie's performances for the first time. They were curious, drawn in by the way Keanu had described his craft. As they watched, many realized why Keanu was so moved. Roumie's performances were understated yet powerful, filled with subtle gestures, expressions, and emotions that spoke directly to the heart. Viewers noted how his work made them think, reflect, and feel deeply. The admiration Keanu expressed was not misplaced. It was a reflection of something truly remarkable. As discussions continued online, people shared how the mention of Roumie had sparked a deeper conversation about respect in the entertainment industry. Many noted that acknowledging others' achievements often goes unnoticed, especially when it comes from someone like Keanu, who is known for being humble and private. The act of recognition became an example of leadership through kindness. It showed that admiration does not need to be loud or performative. A quiet, genuine mention can be just as powerful, if not more. Fans also began sharing their own stories of inspiration. Some wrote about teachers, friends, or family members who had quietly impacted their lives, drawing parallels to the way Roumie's work had influenced Keanu. The thread of admiration and recognition became a larger conversation about human connection, empathy, and the ways in which people touch each other's lives. Keanu's mention had sparked more than curiosity about an actor. It had started a dialogue about values, integrity, and the importance of lifting each other up. In the midst of this response, Keanu quietly observed how meaningful it was to share genuine appreciation. He realized that acknowledgement creates a ripple effect, touching people in ways that can extend far beyond the original moment. The energy from fans, their messages, and their excitement confirmed that sincerity resonates deeply. Keanu's quiet reflection on Roumie's work had sparked enthusiasm, inspiration, and a conversation about values, illustrating that honesty and respect are universally recognized and cherished. Keanu thought about how Roumie's work had a way of connecting people from different backgrounds. Those who watched his performances often felt a shared human experience. Fans described moments when they laughed, cried, or reflected on their own lives because of his authenticity. Keanu admired this deeply because it mirrored his own belief that storytelling, when done with heart, can create empathy and understanding. Recognizing this ability was not just a compliment. It was a recognition of the impact art can have on humanity. As the live session replay circulated, more viewers tuned in, eager to witness the moment Keanu spoke about Roumie. Many commented on how natural and genuine Keanu's admiration felt. It wasn't rehearsed or exaggerated. It was a real human response to something he valued. Fans appreciated the honesty, feeling that Keanu's words validated their own experiences with Roumie's performances. The conversation became less about celebrity and more about shared human experiences and the connections that art can create. Social media posts, fan comments, and discussions highlighted a broader theme: the importance of celebrating others' successes and contributions. Keanu's mention of Roumie reminded people that acknowledgement can inspire others, encourage kindness, and strengthen bonds. It was a lesson in humility and generosity, showing that admiration and respect are powerful forms of human connection. Fans expressed gratitude for witnessing this, noting that it was a rare moment of pure, heartfelt recognition. People also discussed the emotional depth of Roumie's performances, noting how they were not just entertaining but thought-provoking and meaningful. Keanu had pointed out that Roumie's work carried authenticity, and fans reflected on how that authenticity resonated with them. Some shared that it inspired them to pursue their own passions with sincerity, to act with integrity, and to value honesty in their own lives. The ripple effect of admiration was evident, as a single mention led to widespread discussion about values, purpose, and the impact of authentic effort. Keanu quietly observed the reactions, understanding that this moment was larger than himself. He saw how meaningful it was to share genuine admiration, how it could inspire reflection and conversation. He realized that by acknowledging someone sincerely, he was not only celebrating Roumie's work but also encouraging others to recognize and appreciate the goodness around them. Fans responded enthusiastically, showing that human connection thrives on authenticity, respect, and heartfelt recognition. As the excitement continued, people began sharing their favorite moments from Roumie's performances. They highlighted the subtlety of his gestures, the emotion in his eyes, and the depth of feeling he brought to each scene. Many said that watching his work reminded them of their own experiences, challenges, and triumphs. Keanu's words had helped bring attention to these moments, allowing a wider audience to appreciate the artistry and humanity in Roumie's work. The conversations weren't limited to admiration alone. They evolved into reflections on human values. Fans discussed integrity, authenticity, and humility, connecting these traits to both Keanu and Roumie. The mention had created a shared moment where people could think about what really matters in life and in art. It reminded them that recognition, respect, and sincere admiration are important for fostering understanding and connection, not only between artists but also among all people. Some viewers shared personal stories of how a small gesture of acknowledgement had impacted their own lives, paralleling Keanu's mention of Roumie. These stories highlighted the universal nature of respect and admiration. A simple, sincere compliment, recognition, or moment of appreciation could resonate far beyond its original context. Fans discussed how they would carry this lesson into their own lives, noticing and celebrating the efforts of those around them more consciously. Keanu reflected on how admiration could bridge distances and differences. The connection he felt to Roumie was not based on proximity, fame, or status. It was based on shared values and respect for the human heart. Fans responded to this by creating a digital space of mutual appreciation, celebrating Roumie's work, and sharing their reflections on what integrity and authenticity mean. The live session had become a catalyst for a broader, deeply human conversation. As he considered the response, Keanu also thought about the importance of subtlety and recognition. The power of acknowledgement does not always require grand gestures or public displays. A quiet, sincere mention can carry immense meaning, touching hearts and inspiring reflection. Fans seemed to understand this instinctively, engaging with the moment thoughtfully and enthusiastically. It reinforced Keanu's belief that the simplest expressions of respect are often the most profound. In the weeks following the live session, fans continued to discuss the impact of Keanu's words. They created threads, videos, and posts reflecting on admiration, respect, and inspiration. Some highlighted how Roumie's performances reminded them of their own personal experiences. Others spoke about the lessons they had learned from witnessing genuine acknowledgement. Keanu saw that a single moment of sincerity could ripple outward, inspiring conversations that emphasized empathy, integrity, and human connection. Through it all, Keanu remained quietly reflective. He understood that admiration is a form of human connection, a way to share values and acknowledge effort, skill, and heart. His mention of Jonathan Roumie had done more than celebrate talent. It had sparked dialogue, inspired curiosity, and encouraged fans to think deeply about what matters in art and life. The experience reminded him that recognition, when offered sincerely, has the power to move people, bridge divides, and create lasting impact. Fans continued to watch Roumie's work with renewed appreciation, inspired by Keanu's acknowledgement. They discussed the nuances, the subtle emotions, and the authenticity in his performances. Many said that seeing Roumie through Keanu's perspective allowed them to notice details they had missed before, deepening their appreciation for both the artistry and the humanity in his work. It became a shared experience that strengthened their connection to the stories being told. Keanu reflected on the human aspect of this moment, realizing that what made it so affecting was its authenticity. It was not a calculated act or a staged moment. It was a genuine expression of respect and admiration. Fans recognized this, feeling the truth in his words. They responded not only with excitement but also with gratitude, inspired to consider the impact of their own words and actions in acknowledging and uplifting others. The ripple effect continued as fans shared stories of people in their own lives who inspired them, much like Roumie had inspired Keanu. The conversation expanded to include teachers, friends, family members, and mentors. The idea that recognition and sincere admiration could have a transformative impact became a recurring theme. Keanu realized that the live session had become more than a conversation about acting. It had become a lesson in human values, connection, and empathy. Keanu's reflection on Roumie's work and the fans' reactions highlighted a simple but profound truth. Authenticity resonates. When someone speaks from the heart, when admiration is genuine, it touches people deeply. The impact is not limited to the moment but can extend far beyond, inspiring reflection, discussion, and appreciation. Fans understood this instinctively, engaging with the moment and sharing their own stories, creating a shared experience of connection and understanding. As the digital conversation continued, Keanu quietly appreciated the power of sincerity. A single mention of Jonathan Roumie had opened the door to reflection, admiration, and meaningful dialogue. It reminded him that in both art and life, the ways we recognize and uplift each other matter profoundly. Fans had responded with enthusiasm and thoughtfulness, showing that human connection thrives when honesty, respect, and heartfelt acknowledgement are at its core. In the end, the live session and its aftermath became a story of admiration, inspiration, and the quiet impact of acknowledging someone sincerely. Keanu's words had done more than highlight talent. They had encouraged reflection, fostered conversation, and created a ripple of human connection. The moment, simple as it was, left a lasting impression on fans, showing that authenticity, empathy, and respect are powerful forces that resonate far beyond the screen, touching hearts and inspiring minds in ways that are truly unforgettable. After the live session, Keanu Reeves found himself reflecting on Jonathan Roumie more deeply than he had expected. It wasn't just the admiration he felt for his performances. It was also about the human qualities that Roumie brought to his work and to life. Keanu remembered hearing from colleagues that Roumie had a calm and grounded presence, someone who treated everyone with respect, whether on set or off. That balance between professional excellence and personal integrity was something Keanu valued deeply. In quiet moments, Keanu thought about the effort Roumie must have put into his craft. Acting is not easy, and Keanu knew that delivering a performance that truly touches people requires more than talent. It requires empathy, patience, and a willingness to be vulnerable. He remembered watching Roumie perform scenes filled with emotion, and how effortlessly Roumie could convey sincerity. It wasn't about flashy expressions or dramatic gestures. It was about authenticity. Keanu admired that because it reminded him of his own journey and the importance of staying genuine in one's work. Keanu also reflected on the little details in Roumie's performances. He noticed the way he held himself, the way his eyes conveyed subtle emotion, and the way his gestures felt natural and unforced. These small elements made a huge difference, creating a connection with the audience that went beyond words. Keanu thought about how difficult it must be to consistently bring that level of honesty to every scene, and he felt a sense of respect not just for the work itself, but for the dedication and discipline that Roumie put into it every day. He also considered the humility that Roumie demonstrated in his career. In Hollywood, it can be easy to get lost in fame, recognition, and accolades, but Roumie seemed to remain focused on what truly mattered: the story, the character, and the people he was trying to reach. Keanu appreciated this because it aligned with his own values. He believed that acting was not just about personal success, but about creating something meaningful for others. Seeing Roumie exemplify this quietly was inspiring and reaffirmed Keanu's belief in the power of sincerity. As Keanu thought more about Roumie, he realized that the impact went beyond performances on screen. It was about the way Roumie approached life, the kindness he showed to those around him, and the way he remained grounded despite success. Keanu admired the consistency of his character, the way he seemed to live his values in both professional and personal life. This was something that resonated deeply with Keanu, reminding him that talent paired with integrity leaves a lasting impression. Keanu recalled the fan response to the live session. People had been moved, not just by the mention of Roumie, but by the way Keanu had spoken about him. Fans commented on how rare it was to see genuine admiration expressed so openly. Some said it reminded them to notice the good in others, to appreciate the effort and integrity of people around them. Others mentioned that it had encouraged them to approach their own work or relationships with more sincerity. Keanu found it humbling to see how a small, honest acknowledgement could inspire such thoughtfulness and positivity. In reflecting further, Keanu thought about the human connections behind every performance. Roumie's work reminded him that acting is not just about entertainment. It's about touching hearts, inspiring empathy, and connecting people through shared experiences. Keanu admired how Roumie could achieve this consistently, making audiences feel seen, understood, and valued. That was a rare gift, one that went beyond skill and technique, and reached into the realm of human understanding and emotional resonance. Keanu also considered the courage it takes to be authentic, in an industry that often rewards surface-level charm or exaggeration. Roumie's ability to remain genuine, to approach each role with honesty and depth, was a quiet act of bravery. Keanu admired the way Roumie stayed true to himself, even when the industry pressures him to be someone else. This level of integrity was inspiring, and Keanu felt fortunate to witness it, both as a fan of Roumie's work and as someone who shared the challenges of working in the same demanding field. He thought about how Roumie's performances often encouraged reflection. The roles he chose, the way he portrayed characters with empathy and care, inspired viewers to think about their own lives, their own choices, and the people they cared about. Keanu appreciated this because it aligned with his own philosophy that art should be meaningful, not just entertaining. Roumie's work had that effect, and Keanu wanted people to recognize it, which was why he had spoken about it in the live session. Keanu also remembered the moments when Roumie interacted with fans and colleagues. He had read stories and seen clips showing Roumie's humility, patience, and kindness. These small gestures, though not widely publicized, were meaningful. Keanu understood that it was easy to overlook the quiet ways someone impacts the world, but he recognized it, and that recognition was important. It showed that admiration and respect are about noticing not just the visible achievements, but also the character and values that shape them. As Keanu reflected, he realized that acknowledging Roumie's work and character publicly was more than a casual comment. It was a way to highlight the importance of authenticity and integrity. Fans responded because it spoke to a deeper human truth. People notice and appreciate genuine effort, kindness, and honesty. Keanu understood that this acknowledgement had the power to inspire, encourage, and create a sense of shared values among viewers. It was a moment that transcended celebrity, becoming a lesson in recognizing the humanity in others. He thought about how often admiration goes unspoken. People rarely express the full extent of their respect or appreciation for others, especially in professional environments. Keanu felt that by speaking openly about Roumie, he was not only celebrating talent but also modeling a kind of generosity that encourages people to notice and acknowledge the good around them. Fans picked up on this instinctively, appreciating the warmth and thoughtfulness behind Keanu's words. Keanu also considered how Roumie's approach to acting reflected patience and careful attention. Acting is an art that requires constant observation, empathy, and the ability to connect with people on a profound level. Roumie's performances demonstrated all of these qualities. Keanu admired the discipline and dedication required to maintain that standard consistently, understanding that it was not something that could be faked or rushed. It was the result of genuine care for the craft and the audience. As the days went by, Keanu kept reflecting on the impact of the live session. He realized that mentioning Roumie had sparked a conversation about values, integrity, and respect. Fans were inspired to notice the quiet achievements of others, to celebrate effort and authenticity, and to reflect on their own ways of showing appreciation. Keanu found it moving that a simple acknowledgement could create such a positive ripple effect, reminding him that sincerity carries power beyond what one might expect. He also thought about the emotional resonance of Roumie's work. The way he portrayed characters with subtlety and depth often left viewers feeling a sense of connection and understanding. Keanu appreciated that this was not something that could be taught or forced. It came from the heart. Roumie's ability to consistently bring that level of authenticity to his performances was a testament to both his skill and his character. Keanu admired this quietly, feeling grateful to have witnessed it. Keanu considered the broader lesson in this reflection, that human connection and acknowledgement matter. When someone takes the time to notice, appreciate, and speak about another person's work or character, it creates a ripple of positivity. Fans responded to this naturally, engaging with the moment, discussing it thoughtfully, and sharing it with others. It reinforced Keanu's belief that admiration and recognition are powerful tools for fostering connection, empathy, and understanding. He thought about how Roumie's dedication to honesty and sincerity could serve as an example for others, not only for aspiring actors but for anyone pursuing their passion or striving to make a difference. Roumie's work showed that it is possible to remain true to oneself while inspiring others, and that integrity in action is noticed and valued, even if quietly. Keanu appreciated this example because it mirrored his own approach to life and work, and he felt proud to share that admiration with others. In reflecting on all of this, Keanu realized that the live session had created more than a fan interaction. It had become a moment of shared human experience. Fans inspired by his words were thinking about what it means to recognize talent, integrity, and authenticity in others. They were connecting over shared admiration and values, creating a sense of community that extended beyond the immediate conversation. Keanu saw the quiet power of acknowledgement and how it can resonate deeply, influencing people in ways that may not be immediately visible but are lasting. Keanu's thoughts returned to the idea of humility and grace. Roumie's ability to remain grounded and focused on what truly matters, connecting with people through storytelling, was a rare quality. Keanu admired the way he carried himself, understanding that such authenticity requires conscious effort and self-awareness. By mentioning Roumie, Keanu was celebrating not only his talent but also the virtues that made him admirable as a person. It was a recognition of both art and character. As Keanu continued to reflect, he thought about the small, quiet ways in which people can impact others. Roumie's performances, his demeanor, and his dedication were subtle, yet profoundly influential. Keanu realized that acknowledgement of these qualities is important because it amplifies the positive influence and encourages others to value similar traits. Fans responded enthusiastically, showing that admiration, when expressed sincerely, can create a ripple effect of positivity and reflection. Keanu concluded that the live session and his mention of Jonathan Roumie were more meaningful than he had anticipated. It was not just about recognizing talent. It was about celebrating humanity, integrity, and the quiet ways in which people inspire one another. Fans had embraced this sentiment, reflecting on their own experiences and considering the impact of admiration in their own lives. Keanu felt grateful for the opportunity to share this moment, understanding that genuine acknowledgement has the power to resonate far beyond the immediate audience, touching hearts and minds in ways that last. In the days after the live session, Jonathan Roumie himself noticed the attention sparked by Keanu Reeves's words. Though Roumie was used to fans sharing their thoughts online, this felt different. It wasn't just excitement about a new show or a scene. It was admiration expressed by a fellow actor whom millions respected. Roumie felt a quiet gratitude, appreciating not only the public acknowledgement, but also the sincerity behind it. Keanu had spoken from the heart, and Roumie could feel that even from afar. Roumie reflected on the impact of acknowledgement in his own life. He thought about how small gestures of recognition had shaped his career, moments when someone had noticed his effort or the intention behind his work. Those instances, though quiet, had been encouraging, reinforcing his dedication to authenticity and connection. Now, seeing a respected colleague express admiration so openly, he realized how powerful acknowledgement could be and how it could ripple beyond the two people involved, inspiring others and spreading positivity. Fans continued to share their reactions across platforms. Many expressed that the exchange between Keanu and Roumie had inspired them in unexpected ways. Some said it reminded them to recognize the effort and kindness in their own friends, colleagues, or family members. Others mentioned that it encouraged them to pursue their passions sincerely, focusing on authenticity and heart rather than external validation. The moment had become more than a casual mention. It had evolved into a lesson on human connection, respect, and inspiration. Roumie felt moved by the thoughtfulness of Keanu's words. It wasn't a simple compliment or public shout-out. It was an acknowledgement of values shared across two artists' lives, the dedication to craft, the commitment to honesty, and the intention to touch people through their work. Roumie reflected on how rare it was to find such alignment, especially in a world often focused on fame and recognition. He appreciated that Keanu's admiration highlighted not just talent, but the heart and integrity behind it. For Keanu, the aftermath of the live session was a period of reflection. He had always believed in valuing people and their contributions, and this experience reinforced that belief. A simple acknowledgement offered sincerely could have far-reaching effects. It reminded him that the impact of words, even in a fleeting moment online, can be profound. People responded not just to the mention itself, but to the authenticity and warmth that accompanied it. Keanu realized that genuine admiration can create connections, inspire reflection, and foster community in ways that are both subtle and enduring. Fans began sharing moments from Roumie's career that had touched them deeply. They highlighted scenes, lines, and gestures that spoke to their own experiences. Some spoke of finding comfort during difficult times, feeling uplifted by the honesty and care in Roumie's performances. Others mentioned learning lessons about resilience, empathy, and the importance of staying true to oneself. Keanu's acknowledgement had opened a door for this conversation, encouraging viewers to notice and celebrate the meaningful impact of art and character. Roumie, in quiet moments, thought about the responsibility that comes with influence. Acting is not just about performance. It's about connection, empathy, and the way art can shape human experience. He understood that every choice, every gesture, and every word on screen has the potential to affect viewers. Keanu's admiration reminded him that sincerity in action is noticed and valued. It reinforced his commitment to approach each role with thoughtfulness, authenticity, and care for the audience. The dialogue between fans and the ripple effect from Keanu's mention created a sense of shared experience. People were discussing admiration, respect, and the ways in which human connection manifests in everyday life. The conversation was not about celebrity or fame, but about values, empathy, and integrity. Keanu's words had sparked something bigger than a fan moment. They had encouraged reflection, conversation, and inspiration. Fans engaged thoughtfully, showing that authenticity and sincerity resonate deeply. Roumie also reflected on the unseen effort that goes into acting. The dedication, patience, and empathy required to make a performance truly meaningful are often overlooked. Keanu's acknowledgement highlighted these qualities in a way that fans could appreciate. Roumie felt a renewed sense of purpose inspired by the recognition, but also mindful of the responsibility to continue delivering work that is honest, thoughtful, and impactful. The conversation online evolved to include discussions about mentorship and inspiration. Fans shared stories of people who had influenced them positively, drawing parallels to the admiration Keanu expressed for Roumie. The idea that recognition can inspire others became a central theme. Keanu understood that by speaking from the heart, he had not only honored Roumie, but also encouraged others to notice and appreciate the goodness in those around them, creating a ripple of respect and inspiration that extended far beyond the original moment. Roumie thought about the human element behind art, the way stories, characters, and performances connect people through shared emotion and understanding. He realized that Keanu's words had not only acknowledged his craft, but also the empathy and care he brought to every role. This reflection strengthened his commitment to remain authentic, to value sincerity over spectacle, and to approach his work with thoughtfulness and humility. The recognition felt like a quiet validation of the principles he had tried to live by both on and off screen. For Keanu, the experience reaffirmed the value of generosity in acknowledgement. Recognizing others, celebrating their effort and integrity, and speaking from the heart creates a sense of community and shared purpose. Fans responded not only to the names involved, but to the meaning behind the acknowledgement, the respect, admiration, and human connection. Keanu understood that these moments, though brief, can leave lasting impressions on both those acknowledged and the wider audience. The story of this exchange spread across fan communities, encouraging dialogue about authenticity, sincerity, and the ways people inspire each other. Viewers shared insights, personal reflections, and stories of admiration in their own lives. The conversation underscored a universal truth. Genuine acknowledgement and respect resonate, creating a chain of positivity and reflection. Keanu felt gratified, understanding that this simple act of sharing admiration had sparked something meaningful beyond the screen. Roumie quietly considered the influence of small actions. Even a simple mention by a respected colleague could create waves of inspiration and thought. He reflected on the unseen impact of kindness, respect, and acknowledgement in his own life, recognizing how these gestures shaped his choices and strengthened his commitment to authenticity. Keanu's mention served as a powerful example of the importance of noticing and valuing the humanity and effort in others. Fans continued to revisit Roumie's performances with renewed appreciation. They highlighted the subtlety, depth, and authenticity he brought to his roles. Many expressed how these performances had moved them personally, fostering empathy and reflection. Keanu's acknowledgement helped guide this renewed attention, reminding viewers to recognize the human effort behind art and encouraging thoughtful engagement with what they watched. Roumie felt a sense of quiet pride, tempered with humility. The recognition was not about fame or accolades. It was about sincerity, values, and shared admiration. It reminded him that the heart of his work lies in connecting with people, fostering empathy and inspiring thoughtfulness. Keanu's words reinforced the importance of integrity, authenticity, and care in every action, both on screen and in life. For Keanu, the ripple effect of the acknowledgement illustrated the power of sincerity. Fans engaged in meaningful conversations, shared insights, and reflected on their own experiences of admiration and respect. The moment highlighted a fundamental truth: acknowledgement, when heartfelt, inspires thoughtfulness, empathy, and human connection. It demonstrated that the simplest expressions of genuine respect can resonate far beyond the original interaction. Roumie reflected on the lessons of the moment. He considered how recognition motivates, inspires, and fosters connection. The acknowledgement by Keanu highlighted not just performance, but the values of patience, integrity, and sincerity that guide his work. This reflection reinforced his commitment to authenticity, reminding him that influence is most meaningful when paired with heart and care. Fans continued to discuss the broader themes raised by the live session. Conversations about respect, admiration, and human connection flourished. Keanu's mention had created a shared moment of reflection, encouraging people to notice the goodness, effort, and integrity in those around them. It reminded viewers that acknowledgement is not only an act of kindness, but also a way to inspire others and nurture community. As Roumie looked back on the experience, he felt a deep sense of appreciation for the quiet ways in which people influence one another. Keanu's acknowledgement was more than recognition. It was an affirmation of shared values, a reminder of the power of sincerity, and an illustration of how simple gestures can have lasting impact. Fans, inspired by this exchange, were encouraged to reflect on their own lives and consider the importance of noticing, valuing, and uplifting others. Keanu also reflected on the enduring nature of genuine acknowledgement. Though the live session was brief, its impact continued to unfold through conversations, reflections, and shared experiences. It reminded him that acts of admiration and respect, however small, have the potential to ripple outward, touching lives in unexpected and meaningful ways. The moment demonstrated that authenticity, kindness, and human connection are powerful forces that leave lasting impressions. In the end, the acknowledgement between Keanu Reeves and Jonathan Roumie became more than a simple mention. It was a moment that highlighted authenticity, integrity, and the human capacity to inspire and uplift others. Fans engaged deeply, reflecting on their own experiences, sharing stories, and celebrating the values that connect us all. Roumie, moved by the recognition, continued his work with renewed dedication, understanding that sincerity, patience, and empathy are qualities that resonate universally. Keanu, observing the ripple effect, felt affirmed that genuine acknowledgement, offered from the heart, has the power to create lasting impact and foster human connection in profound ways.